So last night, the birth story of girlfriend was really interesting. This year is crazy. So we now have had 5 triplets and 1 set of twins out of 6 does. So this kidding season, I'm going to tell you one other story later too about Switch's kidding, and that was crazy as well. We've had some crazy. I've gone. This is my 6th kidding season, and I'm on over 50 now, ish. It's less than 50 anyway, and I've never had more trouble, more difficulty, more complications, all that stuff. So yesterday's birth story, girlfriend labored super slow. She was 3 days late. She was at the 6-hour point of what I call slow labor, not really pushing, no grunting, no vocalizations, no none of that stuff, just a couple of little pushes, and that would be it. A couple of little pushes, that would be it. And she did that for hours. Actually not. She pre-labored for about 4 hours, and then she little pushy stuff for like 2. And so we were 6 into it. And so at that point I decided, with some help of some mentors, Dave and Ann and Kim and Cheryl, kind of all, and again, when I get into situations, I call people who know more than me. And so I decided to go in. So she was, and I felt earlier, and she had a little bubble, and I could feel it was just on the other side of the cervix, and she was fully dilated. So I went in. I was able to kind of feel the bubble and then go along the side of the baby. So at this point, I'm about this deep in girlfriend. We got this on film too, so it'll be interesting to share. So I'm in, and getting my whole hand in there is an interesting process too. But I'm in, I feel on the side, I can feel knobby points, and that's always deceptive because it's their rear legs and they're like this. And so you're feeling in here, and it's a weird thing to feel. I feel like I'm starting to finally recognize it now. And so at first I couldn't quite tell what it was. Then I went, okay, it's breech, legs in, which is a very difficult position for them to get through, especially if it's a big baby, and it was a giant. It was over a 10-pound doe was the first one out. And she had basically been just bumping up against the cervix the whole time and never really engaged full heavy labor. So I reached in, I popped the bubble. Now I'm up to here. I popped the bubble. I was able to hook one leg, and the other leg was tucked in and over the top. So I felt like, I think I can get her out with just one leg. The one leg cleared actually really easy because it was so deep, and it goes narrow and gets wider down in there. And again, when you reach into a doe, you reach in up and over. And I was able to get that leg free pretty easy. So I had the leg, and again, I'm here, and I start pulling, and it's good, and it's good, and it's good, and she's bellowing, of course, and doing all her thing, and slowly worked her way out. She really didn't help me much at all. She barely pushed in the process. She didn't seem exhausted. She just wasn't contracting. And so we pulled that baby all the way out. I honestly expected for it to potentially be dead, and it coughed and sputtered and was alive and well. And it was a really cool emotional moment after an all-day laboring experience. So that was cool. Got that baby all cleaned up. She sat down, and she instantly started pushing. And within 5 minutes, presented a perfect baby, face forward, nose and toes, and came right out. And that was a giant boy. So now we had, the first girl was little, the giant boy was second, and then the third one, so everybody was clean, everybody had nursed, the whole situation was all cleaned up. We were an hour from when the first one hit the ground, and I bounced her, or bump checked her, and I knew I could feel something in there. It was real subtle though. It was hard to determine for sure. I felt confident I was feeling something. I've bounced checks lots, but when I bounce check, there's nothing in there. So this is the first time there was something in there, and I'm like, I'm sure there's something in there. And I've seen it done before, but I've never actually had one be in there, know it's in there, and felt it and confirmed it. And so I felt confident there was one in there, but she wasn't laboring at all. We then moved clear to the point of about an hour and 15 minutes, and I just said, Trisha, you have smaller hands. Why don't you try going in? And if you go in, you're going to get some experience at this, because I don't want to be the only one to know how to do this on the farm. I need my lady to know too. And so she she washed up and got ready, and we were just gonna check to see if one was in there. And sure enough, she reached in there, and she's forearm deep, and it's way down in, and she can feel him. And she doesn't have as much experience feeling what's going on, and it's harder than you think. Popping the bubble is harder than you think. So I was sitting right there with her. She was knee deep, and of course, girlfriend's blah and pushing, and I'm trying to hold her from the front while she's got her arm clear up her vagina, and so she got the bubble popped, and then determined that this was a front hoof was the assumption, which it was. And I said, do you feel the head? She said, I think so, kind of thing. What we learned from this in coaching somebody through it is once you're in there, to be really, really patient with determining exactly what's going on. Where's the head? Take your time, find out the position. This is not, once you're in there, it's all, that in there is already done. Slow down at that point and figure out where everything is. So what had happened is, as she had felt, I believe, the head with kind of a thumb and holding onto the leg, she grabbed both legs and began to start pulling out. And then what happened is that head came back as it was coming out. So she came up against the cervix, and it was, oh crap, can't really go, exerting too much effort. I'm like, go back in and figure out what's going on. She's like, oh my God, the head's back and over the top. And so it was kind of panicky. She like said, oh, you take over, you take over. It was this really cool, beautiful moment. I'm like, you got this, you're in there, let's just be calm. She pushed the baby back down in, got the head hooked, which is actually hard. I've only done it once, and she was all panicked. She's like, I'm gonna hurt him, and it feels like that because you have to take that head and in that small little space, turn it around, and the nose like wants to hook up on the edges. I mean, you're like to get it turned. She got brave. I just said, you just got to do it. You got to turn that head. She turned that head, and it lined out straight, and it all came out. So that was our experience. We literally had two babies we had to reach in and get and pull out, and I just never seen it like that. And the doe, we're gonna make sure she gets a good dose of antibiotics proactively. Anybody we've gone into this year so far has dealt with uterine infection issues. You're just introducing bacteria in there, and I think proactively, as soon as you enter that, that's what we have found, at least on our farm. So we do a full course of antibiotics just proactively now, because anybody we've entered, we've had that issue with. But girlfriend's safe, the kids are safe. They're all giants. The first baby was 10.8. The big doe was 10.2, and the other one's like 8.5. It's small, but that's almost 30 pounds of babies girlfriend was carrying. So super cool experience. Hopefully maybe this will help you to know what to do sometime in that position. And again, we're building the full course as we speak. We filmed all our births this year. David out at Trinity Farms is filming all his birth and coaching, and he's got 20 plus years of experience, and I would have really benefited from a course like that, so we'll make it available to you in the future. So anyway, that was our success story. Woohoo! Girlfriend finally got it done. She was 3 days late on her official birth date, and she was loose ligaments over 2 weeks ago. So she presented completely different. The key was, the nuance was that her bag filled out so tight on that last 2 days that was the difference that I'll take notes on next year to know better how to help girlfriend in having her babies, and how she labors differently than any goat I've ever dealt with. So anyway, hope you find that helpful. Mark Warnke, the Goat Guy.